What's going on, everybody? Welcome to After Prison Show, and today I want to share with you guys a prison story. You know, it's damn crazy to think that we've been doing videos here for almost 4 years now, and I've still got prison stories to share with you guys. Ironically enough, it was me thinking about something else or researching something, I can't remember exactly how it happened, that reminded me of this story. And that's how it happens every so often. Every so often I'm reminded of a time, or better yet, a story. And unfortunately, a lot of the time, those stories took place inside of either a jail or a prison. I want to tell you guys a story today about one of my very first friends up inside of the jail when I first got locked up. And you know, this was a situation that definitely could have ended up pretty bad for me. I befriended the wrong person. And this could go any number of directions, but it's going to go the snitch route. It's going to go that route. Not the route where, you know, don't sleep on your belly if you don't trust your celly. Not that route. The Tekashi 6ix9ine instead. But before we go any further, I do want to address a couple of things. I haven't had a chance to really talk with you guys, and I want to do that real quick. Folks, I'm getting my facial hair back. I realized shaving my face butt bald naked was the absolute worst thing that I could have done. I realized it also showed you guys how fat I've gotten as of late. It most certainly was the wrong thing to be shaving my face during No Shave November, and also to be shaving my face during a time when I had just recently quit smoking. Folks, I am almost on 6 weeks of no smoking. Has it gotten any easier? Absolutely not. Every single day I wake up craving that Newport. But I ain't smoking. No sirree, Bob. But with quitting comes weight gain. I get it. I've gotten fat. I've read the comments. Some of them are horrendous. How could you even type some of this stuff? I thought you liked me. Nonetheless, I get it. I've gained weight. Joe, boy, you fat as a Damn, them Junies, though. I bet them Junies is looking right for Thanksgiving. I get it. I'm getting ready to get on a little workout plan. I'm going to do me a couple of push-ups, start running. I'm going to get back right. I remember when I first started all of this. When I first came home from prison, not only did I have the glow, I was also damn near GQ model-like. Damn, I can't believe that was me and I looked that good. Also, I want to thank everybody who's been rocking with the fact that we began to feature a lot more people and their stories and are trying in some way to help those individuals. Not everyone that we're working with is going to be able to be helped. Some of them already haven't worked out, but it is what it is. Regardless, we continue to try to do something good and something positive. So shout out to everybody who's been rocking with that. I look forward to bringing you guys tons of more stories. Hell, today I just went and got a crazy one, and that'll be coming real soon. And with all of that being mentioned, let's go ahead and get into this prison story. Let me knock the dust off the old shoulders real quick. It's been a while. It's been a while since I told a prison story. Actually, it probably hasn't been that long. But with all of that being mentioned, let's go ahead and get into this story that I hope by me sharing this is insightful. You know, every time that I share a story, I want there to be a point and a meaning behind it, even if it's just for entertainment purposes. I'm going to try to make this story just that as well. But I always want every story to have like a point, a really powerful message. And in this particular story, let's go ahead and just share the message prior to the story. And the message with this is, when you get locked up, pay attention to, if you ever get locked up. I pray and I hope that none of you ever get locked up, knock on wood. We're a little rusty here. But if you ever do have to serve some time, really take time and pay mind to who you associate yourself with while doing that time. During this particular time, I was a young little whippersnapper, probably 18 years old. Now, mind you, at 18 years old, this is right when Joe began to start getting into all sorts of trouble. The doors of the jail turned into a carousel, or at least the revolving doors, because old/young Joe was going in and out of those things quite frequently. But back during the first time that I ever had to actually spend some time in the jail, I made a friend. One of, if not my very first friend up inside of the jail. And this was an individual that I knew of, but I didn't know personally at all. And this guy's name was Matt. I know Matt's last name, and I don't want to put that out there because, well, we'll get to that. But this guy, Matt, was my first friend up inside of the jail. And what's ironic about this friendship is, like I said, I knew of this guy prior to ever getting locked up. Because out there in the free world at 18 years old, Joe was involved in all the wrong things. And one of the wrong things that I was involved with was attempting and trying to sell the devil's lettuce. Joe fancied himself as Escobar, 1 ounce at a time. I was nothing. I was street level, nickel and dime at best. But you couldn't tell me that while I was out there. While I was out there, I was George Young minus the Cessna plane and the kilos. You know, it's kind of crazy to think about. Like, every time I would be involved in the game, out there trying to get that money, you always think you're doing a lot better than you really are, and you always want to present that image to others all the time. You always want others to think you the man, which will cause you to trick up all your re-up money, and then that's why you never make it, and you never elevate, you never climb that corporate drug dealer ladder. You just don't get nowhere trying to impress others. And nowadays, that's just not the case at all. Nowadays, everybody's snitching. But you know what's crazy is back when I was 18 years old, this type of thing was happening as well. Even though snitching wasn't as commonplace as it is today, it was on the cusp, right on the verge of becoming an everyday household thing. And this first friendship that I made up inside of the jail at 18 years old is a perfect example of that. I'm up inside of the jail and I meet this guy named Matt. I tell him my name is Joe and he tells me his last name. And as soon as he tells me his last name, I get goo-goo gaga googly-eyed. I'm like, oh, you're Matt? No way. You're Matt, you're that Matt? Matt for real? I was damn near starstruck by this guy who's sitting in jail right next to me, who's an inmate just like I was. And of course, the reason why I was starstruck and blown away by this dude damn near asking him to sign a pair of my tighty whities up inside of the jail was because of the reputation that this guy had out there in the streets. And what that reputation was this guy was the man. This guy was Escobar himself. This guy was moving poundos. This guy was moving them elbows out there. Pounds. This guy, Matt, was the plug for real. Or at least he used to be. He wasn't any longer because he was sitting up in the jail with me. Another crazy thing to mention about this guy is, you know, like I said, knew of him as the man out there and everybody's connection. That's what he was. He was the connect for everybody. I had also heard this little murmuring through the grapevine that Matt could be, in fact, possibly, probably cooperating. And I'm trying to remember what happened next. Because, of course, what came next through this blossoming friendship inside of the jail, Joe being a nothing/nobody out there in the street, nickels and dimes at best, smoking up all of my profits and tricking up the pack at most. And then on the other hand, this guy Matt being the plug. You know, of course, what would come next are the war stories. This guy would tell me so many war stories, and I would be sitting there like a kid, you know, with his hands up under his chin, kicking his feet up, laying on his stomach in front of the Christmas tree, just listening to these type of stories. I was blown away. I was fascinated at the very, you know, I was no homo, okay? I mean, like, it was not a man crush or nothing. I mean, this guy he was the envy of any bottom-feeding, scum of the earth type of individual that I most certainly was at this time in my life. And he's just telling me story after story about his Lexuses and his girlfriends and the club life. This next part I can't particularly put my finger on. What I'm trying to tell you guys is though I had heard that this guy was cooperating and he was a snitch, I can't remember if he actually told me about this one particular time involving wearing a wire, and if that was him. And I don't think that it was. Now that I think about this a little bit harder, I don't think that he told me anything involving himself. But he did tell me about this other guy. Yeah, I think that's how it was. He did tell me about this other guy who wore a wire on him. And that was how he was locked up right here. Guy wore a wire on him. It was deeper than drugs too. It was like some kind of like a hit for hire and some other stuff. It was pretty crazy. Matter of fact, I want to say like he was locked up. Part of the charges he had, not only did he have these drug charges, he had a hit for hire on somebody who like a cop. Some crazy charges. So this dude was facing a boatload of time. But also because of these crazy big boy charges he had, forget the drugs. These other charges were absolutely crazy. I mean, these were your done type of charges, even though drugs could be that as well. Because of these crazy charges this dude had and all this time he was facing, you know, there was this rumor that this dude was snitching, he was cooperating, he was ready to give up anybody in an effort to save himself. And though that was like this rumor that I was hearing, I think I was hearing this prior to even getting locked up. You know, when I was locked up and I'm meeting this guy for the first time, all of that went out the window. I'm not even thinking about none of that. I'm just like, man, tell me another story. Gosh, Matt, you are so thug life. Oh my God, I can't believe we're friends. This is the greatest thing that's ever, you know. Hey, sometimes when you're locked up, Jesus, boy, you think back on some of the things that you did, some of the people you associated with, and you just think to yourself, like, what the world? Why did I do that? But again, with the fact that this was my first time getting locked up, or at least one of my first times getting locked up, I would not stay locked up for very long. I remember I was getting released. I was just about to get released. Guerrero, B&B, pack your stuff, you going home. Boy, it's been 3 weeks. It's been too long. I'm ready to go, boy. The streets, they miss me. Can you imagine what that world gonna be like out there, man? I've been gone for 3 weeks. 3 weeks. I was getting released. I remember that. I don't even remember what I was locked up for. Grand larceny, breaking in some cars, something stupid, because Joe was stupid as a youth. But as I was getting released, this was one of the first times that this experience was happening as well, where I got this dude Matt talking about, yo, hey, let me get a number so I can call you. Oh yeah, homeboy, yeah, hey, boy, pound piece. Yeah, man, hey, we're gonna keep in touch. I'm gonna write you as soon as I get home. Matter of fact, before I even get home, I'm gonna stop at 7-Eleven. I'm gonna buy me 2 stamps. That way you got a guaranteed 2 letters coming, Matt. I'm gonna tell you what's changed out there in the world in these last 3 weeks. They missing you out there too. You right, they missing you. This was another first for me, and that was getting released and, telling somebody that I was gonna hold them down when I got, like, what am I, your girl? Yeah, I got you, boo. I got you. They letting me go. Not the Migos, but they letting me go, so I got you when I get out there. I gave this guy my number so he could call me. This is where the story gets really crazy. I'm released. It's probably like a day or 2 after I've been released. I'm living at my dad's house, and the phone rings. And back then, you got to understand something. Back when I was 18 years old, there was no iPhones, okay? There was no smartphone technology. The smartest phone technology we had back when I was a youngin'. I don't know why my voice is getting loud when I'm saying this, but if you're 30-something years old, you can relate to what I'm saying. The smartest phone technology we had when I was 18 was caller ID. God, that was pretty clever. I'm living at my dad's house. I've been home for a couple of days, maybe a week at the most. I know it wasn't a week. It was probably only like 2 days. And all of a sudden, that phone rings at the house. And I see that caller ID and it says Chesapeake City Jail. Boy, you couldn't tell me nothing. I felt super cool, right? I'm like, yeah, boy, I felt super, like the thuggishness just was intensified by like 10. When that phone rang and that caller ID said Chesapeake City Jail. I mean, I had a teardrop tattoo without having a teardrop tattoo. And if you'd have asked me what that teardrop tattoo meant, I would have told you, because all my homies is locked up. You see the caller ID and where they calling me from. Calling me from the county, from county lockup. I need me like 20 teardrops. For whatever reason, when I saw that name pop up on the caller ID, I just felt like super cool. Because I knew who it was calling me. It was my homeboy, the plug, Matt. I picked up the phone and we went through the pleasantries of that automated message. Hello, you have a collect call from, and then I pressed 1 or 0 or 4 or whatever it is. And I accepted that call. And folks, the crazy thing about all of this is this guy would only call, well, I would only talk to him one time. One time, and it would be this time. This time when I hit 1 or 0 or 4 or whatever it was. And I'm proud of myself for the fact that I was able to acknowledge what was taking place. But long story short, I accept this call. I begin to talk with Matt. He's asking me, how things are going out here. I'm telling him, they're good. I'm getting a job. I ain't trying to get no job. I'm waiting for you to come home. I'm waiting for you to come home so, things could be good. But I knew this guy was not coming home. This guy would ask me to do something. He would ask me to go meet with somebody and pick something up, or he would try to introduce me to somebody. Hey, I've got somebody new that I think that you should use as your connection. And at 18 years old, as a guy who would not learn until I was 32 years old, to just say no and to leave alone the street life and the thug life and the BS. At 18 years old, still a whole lot of learning to do. I was able to pick up on this real quick. And you know what this was, at least the way that I felt about it. I could be completely wrong. Maybe I was just paranoid. Maybe this guy was trying to be a nice guy. But you got to keep in mind, I've already heard the rumors. Hey, there's a rumor going around Matt snitching. Matt's willing to do anything to get up off of that attempted hit for hire. And then calling me up, telling me, hey, I've got this new guy I want you to meet. Tom, he's the plug. He's the guy you can go and buy your narcotics from, your marijuana from. This guy was calling me from the jail, trying to set me up. Probably in an effort to get a time cut, sentence reduction, or anything else favorable for him when he went to court. I felt betrayed. I felt humiliated. I felt deceived. I felt lied to. Like, damn. For 3 weeks that I was locked up, you was my G. We was tight. We were friends. My first friend. You were my first friend, that is, in the jail. And I got released before you did. I would have sent you $10 for commissary. At least I would have told you I would have. All for me to get released. And for you to call my father's residence. Caller ID popped up right like that. And try to set me up. Now you may think to yourself, Joe, you're probably wrong about this. Or maybe, what if it wasn't that? What if he really was just trying to put you down with a different connection? Well, I'm going to tell you like this. You could be right about that. You could be. However, I don't necessarily think that you are. And the reason why, I don't want to put this guy's name out there completely. I want to give this guy some kind of anonymousness. And that is because, crazily enough, fast forward years, maybe 5 or 7 years, or I can't remember exactly when it was, but I'll never forget I was locked up. I remember that. I was locked up when I read in the newspaper that a young Caucasian male, age, right around my age, because that's how old he was, named Matt such and such, had lost his life due to, he got shot multiple times in some bad neighborhood. And they also had his Lexus car. They had a picture of the Lexus car. This dude got, he got killed. And I don't know necessarily if it was because of the cooperation that he possibly, in all likelihood, probably was doing. Or if it was like what happens to so many other people and so many people that I'm seeing, they get released and they end up with some kind of hellacious drug addiction. Whatever the case, this guy that was like my first friend in the jail would end up being, a snitch. Or at least had a damn good reputation of being one. And also somebody who I thought for sure, and crazy that I could even realize this at such a young age, at 18 years old, who I thought for sure was trying to set me up in an effort to save himself after I got released. I share this story with you guys because I hope you found it, maybe somewhat entertaining, even though it was kind of really messed up. But also, I hope it's insightful and enlightening. No matter if you're locked up or if you never get locked up, and I hope that you never get locked up, but in life, really pay mind to or try to pay attention to who you associate with. Because you never really know the full situation of what is going on with anybody that you deal with. So just be careful out there. It's a crazy world we're living in, folks. Hey, look, that's it. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did so, please leave a like and a comment. Let me know exactly what you thought about it. And as always, until next time, enjoy life, the free world. Never take a moment for granted, and make the most of every day. Peace!